digital literacy skills also. So let us begin the session. For a formal welcome, I invite Mr. Lewis George, PGT Economics. Sir, please.
The former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan once said, "Knowledge is power. Information is liberating. Education is the premise of progress in every family and every society." A very good evening to one and all present here. Honorable Chief Guest of the Day, Madam Saraswati Nagarajan. Respected Principal Sir, loving colleagues, and dear children. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this webinar in connection with International Literacy Day. Today, we are fortunate to have Madam Saraswati Nagarajan as our chief guest. She is Deputy Editor of the popular newspaper of India since 1878, The Hindu. She has got more than 25 years of experience as a media person. She was a former member of Kerala State Chalachitra Academy and present member of Media Academy. But I find pleasure to welcome Madam as a representative of a great media firm, The Hindu, because its articles, magazines like Competition Success, Frontline, everything has been generating the young minds of India for last number of years. Today, Madam is going to present a very important topic. It is the need of the hour, that is media literacy. I am sure information will flow without any miss and dis. On behalf of KV Akkulam Fraternity, I welcome Madam Saraswati Nagarajan to this webinar. Madam, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Our beloved Principal Sir Kumara Mohanji is here. There is no need of any introduction about our sir. He is a person always converting challenges into opportunity. Demonstrating how a captain should lead from the front. With all respect and love, I welcome our Principal Sir to this function. Sir, welcome. I welcome my dear colleagues. They are always supportive and strong pillars of this institution. Last but not the least, our dear students. They are really the beneficiaries of this, all the programs and compliments of all our endeavors. Dear children, I welcome all of you to this webinar and thank you. Now, I welcome our Principal Sir to address the gathering.
A very good evening to one and all present here. Chief Guest of the Day, Madam Saraswati Nagarajan, Deputy Editor, The Hindu, The Hindu Daily. My dear colleagues and my dear children of class 11 and 12. The selection of the topic and the occasion is very apt, because all of you know that yesterday was a World Literacy Day with a motto of how to overcome digital divide. That is the motto of this year's World Literacy Day celebration. So when it comes to digital platforms, initially digital access was a problem, but once you are coming to digital access, then comes to digital divide, how to bridge the gap, because I may have a mobile phone, but I may not be able to use it properly. So there is a digital divide. Digital access is there. I have money, I can purchase the mobile phone, but I will not be able to use it properly. So digital divide is there, existing there as a reality. So the motto of this year's World Literacy Day, I believe, is very apt. And on this occasion, we thought of inviting Madam Saraswati Nagarajan, an eminent person in this field, to discuss with how to combat with misinformation and disinformation, because these two are very significant as far as our social media usage is also concerned. So on behalf of all of you, once again, I share my pleasure and pride for sharing my platform, this evening platform with her, and welcome Madam Saraswati Nagarajan for beginning the session. Over to you, Madam. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you very much, both the principal and Levi sir. And thank you, Darshana, for inviting me and giving me this privilege of talking to so many of your students. The topic is a very interesting one, and one that is very relevant in the world that we live in. Because if you look at it, 2020, so from 20 onwards, we've seen 2 years when misinformation and disinformation have reached a peak. That is during the lockdown and because of the coronavirus. So this, I think, I must congratulate Darshana and the school teachers for choosing a topic that is so valid now in the years following the lockdown and the virus and the pandemic, when we were all glued to our screens, giving us many opportunities to read everything, study everything, follow, watch movies. Everything is being done online. And all the more reason why one has to be very careful about what we are reading, watching, and what we are forwarding and spreading to as carriers of news. Because now all of us not only read the news, but we are also creators and propagators of different kinds of news. So if you have a WhatsApp account, if you have a Facebook, account, or if you are on social media of any kind, remember that you are also a creator and also, in many ways, a person who carries news from one person to another. So this, it is extremely important why we must understand to distinguish between what is real and what is fake. These 2 years have often been called, if you look at popular media, you will find these 2 years have often been called the year of fake news for various reasons. Okay. So I'm sure that all of us read the news, and in various forms. We see it on television, we might see it on our mobiles, or we might hear it on the radio or our car radios and so on. Different forms. The thing to understand is that we cannot wish away social media. It is going to stay with us, and it is something that we're going to need much more in the years to come. Because remember, our telephones now function as our ATMs. It helps us keep in touch with each other. It helps us pay our bills. It helps us, to book many things. And also even of many documents now we carry it on the phone to enter a certain place, or even something as NOVA as a vaccine certificates. Many people scan and keep it on our phone. So today, we have to remember that we cannot wish away social media. It is going to stay with us, and we're going to see more and more of this proliferation of various social media platforms. Earlier, what happened, if you look at it many years ago, they were only, if you trace how news is carried, you must remember that in the years before popular mass media, it was usually the king would send us messages with a drum, and maybe you'd get news like that. And then earlier in the there would be pigeons carrying news from one place to another, carrier pigeons. Then gradually came newspapers, then came radio, then television and breaking news. And now we are living in the world of social media, where it's instant. The minute something happens in one corner of the world, within hours all of us are able to access it and see it and hear about it. uh, But remember that it is this instant speed that makes fake news also very dangerous, because the way that we read the news means that people can do the same with fake news also. You create something and you within minutes it spreads across the world, and people tend to believe it. Let me give you an example before I do a short presentation what exactly is fake news. Remember during the lockdown, how many of us, I wish I could see you all, but actually, how many of us read news about people seeing swans in Venice, or elephants walking down our cities? Remember, there were so many videos we saw of animals walking through empty streets, of monkeys coming to cities and towns and so on. But if you looked at, we shared the videos. We really thought, oh my God, yeah, the streets are empty, so the canals in Venice, the water has become very clean. So there was a viral video that said that offshore drilling engineers saw whales off Bombay High, where our oil is drilled, of the Oil and Natural Gas Commission. And there was great excitement. So we said, yeah, the seas have become cleaner because there is so much less pollutants, less vehicles, less emissions, and so on. Later, it was found that it was a fake video. It was viral. It went viral, but the pictures that they show was of shot of a video that was taken in Indonesia. Okay. So that is how fake news gets viral. Within minutes, all of us really thought there were whales in Mumbai High. Yeah, there are whales in Mumbai High. It is true. But this particular picture was not of the whales that we saw in India. This picture was of whales in Indonesia that is being shot. The same is the case with pictures or news about dolphins swimming in Venice Canal. That was again a fake news. The dolphins did come, two of them did visit the Venice canals, but not when this picture went viral. In fact, it was tweeted by an Indian called Kaveri Ganapati, who said that she saw dolphins. And there were many people who kind of objected to that tweet. She refused to say because she said the water is cleaner and so on and so forth. So one has to be very careful what you share with your friends and relatives. Okay. Now let me just make a distinguish between what is the topic that we've given today is media literacy, misinformation, and disinformation. Okay. So let me just go up to it. Now, 1 minute. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So, media literacy, how to combat misinformation and disinformation. Okay. So, let's first find out what is the difference between the two, or is there a difference between the two? Okay. So, what is the difference?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Now,
now it is okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, great. All right. Mm. So, what's the difference between, can you see the screen, all of you?
yes, ma'am.
Visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, great. So, what's the difference between misinformation and disinformation? Or is it a word that we can all exchange and say one for the other? But there is a big difference. Misinformation is wrong information that we might spread without intending to mislead. For instance, you might hear from somebody that you don't have an exam today. You really believe this person, and you tell your friend, okay, we don't have an examination today. You don't mean to deceive the person, and you don't mean to even as a joke. You really believe it, so you tell it to a second person. So there is no deliberate malice, there is no deliberate intent to mislead. So that is misinformation. So we all make mistakes. Like for example, there is flash news coming in of an accident somewhere. So you might tend to, the numbers might be wrong, or you might get the reason for the accident wrong. So when you're breaking news or when you're putting out a live information, sometimes you might make a mistake. That is misinformation. You're not doing it deliberately to fool people. You're not doing it deliberately to tell people, okay, this is true. Okay. So this happens very often. Misinformation happens because we don't have enough data with us, or sometimes when we ourselves believe. For instance, the dolphins that people spread on WhatsApp and so on was not, it didn't mean to harm anyone. It was not malicious content. It was not meant to fool anyone. They really actually believe that dolphins and swans were there in Venice canals. Okay, but what is disinformation? Now that is a different ball game altogether. Disinformation is what is dangerous. That is when you know an information is wrong and you know, and still you go on to forward it to your friends. You know an information is dangerous and that this is wrong information, but for some reasons it suits your purpose, maybe for whatever reasons. So you manipulate this information and to suit your plan, you kind of decide to popularize it. You put it on your social media platforms, you go on to create a news about it. So that is known as disinformation, and that is what is most dangerous. And what is the disinformation that we heard during the coronavirus time? We read about people offering spurious cures for COVID 19, right? So there were people saying that if you, even Donald Trump, the former US president, said that if you drink, I think antiseptic something, you drink that, you're going to be cured of coronavirus. Imagine if you believe that, you know it is wrong, but you still spread it. That is disinformation. So disinformation, it all lies in the intent. Are you doing it deliberately, or are you doing it as a mistake? Deliberately being done is disinformation. The other is misinformation. Okay. So now, why is media literacy so very important? Why are we all harping on it and saying, "Oh, you must learn, you must do this"? Media is often considered as a fourth pillar of democracy, as we all know. So, a free media that is unbiased and fair is crucial for our democracy. Without that, we won't be able to run a democracy correctly. We won't be able to have elections or free or fair elections if people give you wrong news about a candidate, or people give you wrong news that about a certain incident that has happened, or about a certain government policy. Okay, so that is why media literacy is so very important. Social media has hundreds of thousands of users. Not all of them disseminate correct information. So, as a reader, as a consumer of news, it is very important to be literate about the media. Are you able to understand what this news is about? Can you trust what you're reading? That is the whole foundation of media literacy. It is important to trust what you're reading. So you as a person, as a carrier of news, as a creator of news, as someone who understands and can spread potential news, it is very important to be literate about the media. And how can one be literate? It is to understand how to spot fake news and not be a carrier of wrong information. You often say, don't swallow everything that you hear. So the same thing, don't everything that you see on social media may not be correct. Everything that you hear on television may not be correct. You have to keep checking and verifying before you decide to tell somebody about this. All right, so that is why media literacy is so very important, and why we are having this whole, hangama about media literacy. All right. So now let's come to what is danger of disinformation and fake news. In India, I'm sure you must have, sorry, the spelling of innocent is wrong. You must have read about people being killed in various states in India because villagers got a WhatsApp message saying that there are child lifters on the prowl. Okay, imagine, so it's a little village. They get a WhatsApp video message saying that, look, there are people who are kidnapping children for various reasons. So be very cautious. So these people were naturally very nervous, and when they saw two strangers, they were not child kidnappers at all. They kind of lynched the two men without even deciding, and they were not kidnappers. They begged them for their lives, but they were killed nevertheless. So that is one reason why you have to be very careful about what you read on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is not a university. WhatsApp is not the place where you should seek information. Then, if you, I don't know how, I'm sure all of you must have followed what happened during the last US election. Donald Trump was defeated in the election, okay, and Joe Biden won the election, but Donald Trump refused to accept it, and he kept on tweeting that the election was being stolen within quotes, okay. He said the election is being stolen, and he invited his supporters to come to the Capitol to kind of prove their strength. Imagine the president saying that, refusing to accept election results, and they're asking his people to come to the Capitol. What happened is that thousands of people believed Donald Trump and marched to the Capitol, barged into the White House, and destroyed furniture. People were killed. This is supposed to be the world's greatest democracy, by the way. So that is how dangerous anything on social media has. In fact, Donald Trump's tweet was so dangerous that Twitter has suspended his account now, taking cognizance of the fact that he created, that his actions may have led to the riots. Okay. Next is what? What is another danger of disinformation and fake news is taking news out of a context. So you, a leader or an influencer, who is an influencer? Somebody who is very popular on social media. It could be a media star, it could be a film star, it could be a sports person. I'm sure all of you remember the video in which this footballer pushed aside a popular soft drink and he showed how he's drinking water. And remember how viral it went. So that is, he's an influencer. The amount of influence that celebrities and sports people have on our life is quite frightening if you stop to think about it. So, supposing when these people make a statement, you take something out of the context and you just play that up, something that suits you have a hidden agenda and you want to kind of highlight that. So, you take one bit of the speech, you put it into a WhatsApp video with nice music and all. Very easy to make all this now on your phone. You don't need much of technical savvy to do all this, and then you keep forwarding it. What happens is that at least if you forward it to 10 people, there might be 2 people who believe this, who might, they might be very fond of you, they might trust you, so they might really think, oh, this is the gospel truth. Another way of creating this information is when historical facts, and now history is something that all of us should read so that people don't take us for a ride. So they just take some historical facts, take it out of context, and then again, play it up. So we don't know what happened before, we don't know what happened after. So just that one bit, and then it's played up relentlessly. There is news, there are videos on it, there are WhatsApp forwards on it. It's played up on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. YouTube and videos are there, and people write. And so what happens is that there is a famous German Nazi leader. Excuse me. He was called Goebbels. Goebbels had this saying that if you repeat a lie, a liar, if you repeat a lie enough number of times, it becomes the truth. So that's called a propaganda. Okay. So some political parties and leaders or influencers take it upon themselves to do this kind of disinformation. Okay. And now you have doctored videos, you have screenshots. You can't even believe whether the pictures that are there are real. There are false recordings. So it's very, very important to be extremely savvy about what you're reading. Don't be gullible. You have to understand that what you're reading could be wrong. Now let's see why I said that 2021 was a year of fake news. Sushant Singh's death. I'm sure all of us would have seen actor Sushant Singh's movies. So there were many media organizations in India who popularized a tweet of his. They said this was the last tweet that Sushant Singh had put up on his Twitter feed. Okay. But now there are fact-finding agencies, there are fact-finding apps. They found that this is completely wrong. It was a lie. It was not his last tweet. He had never tweeted anything like that. So this was wrong. Then again, I'm sure all of us read with horror and sadness how a pregnant elephant in Kerala bit a pineapple that was filled with crackers and it died. It was horrific to watch. The video went viral. So the initial news report said that this incident happened in Malappuram and a particular community was targeted, saying they're cruel and they like bloodshed and so on. But the thing is that this is completely wrong. It happened in Palakkad, not in Malappuram. So it is again, it went viral, the video. They were people, even they were politicians talking about how it is so cruel and how this, it shouldn't have happened. Yeah, it was cruel. But it was not. It was not as if somebody went and fed the elephant pineapple filled with crackers. They were there to frighten wild animals from a farm, and unfortunately, this elephant happened to eat it, and it died a painful, horrific death, which should not have happened. But it is used to target certain communities. Okay, in the same way, there was a fake video that went around in a particular village in North India that said that doctors and health workers were taking people from a particular community and injecting them with the coronavirus. Now we know how wrong that is. Nobody is being injected with the coronavirus. But when this team of doctors and health workers went to this village, they were beaten up. You know, so that's how dangerous any kind of fake news can be. Then, of course, we have news about COVID-19 cures, miracle pills. Then, like I said, various videos of animals walking around, enjoying spaces without people, and so on. Now, what has come about are many videos of police brutality, police beating up people, uh, inflicting torture on them. We might get very angry when we watch these videos, but make sure that these videos are true, because some of them are from old news that happened maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So you have to be very, before you get taken in by these kind of videos, you have to make sure that this is correct and not misinformation. Similarly, there are advisories from the government, which says that, the government has passed this rule, and so, we are going to get this kind of benefit, or we'll be deprived of the certain benefit. All this should be put under a scanner and should be checked before we get carried away. We must make doubly sure that what we are reading, hearing, or seeing is correct. Now, let me just share with you, how does one separate the wheat from the chaff? How do we know that a news that comes is correct and not just a fake news? These are some of the ways. How do we bust fake news? For one thing is, never ever jump to conclusions. When someone tells you immediately, oh, this happened, you don't know what you're talking about. Always question this person or this bit that you saw. Question anything that you don't immediately, whatever you something somebody tries to convince you of something, go back, question it, and keep on and read diverse sources. Suppose you come across a video put out by a certain agency that says that there is a riot in a place. Immediately go to another news source, see if it is true. Has the place mentioned it? Is there something happening? Are other media organizations also saying the same? Or is it just silent? The minute you find that there is no news at all within, say, an hour's time, you can be sure that it is fake news. Okay? So that is one way. Don't depend on one source for if you come across such news. Keep verifying. Never ever believe, say everything. When people passes you news, don't just take it for and say, okay, this is it. This is the gospel truth. Check out the source. Who's saying it? Why are they saying it? Where? Why? Where did this happen? When did he or she say it? Did they really say it, or was it just something? Always be skeptical. Don't be taken in. You should have a questioning mind. The next is to check other news sources. Like I said, supposing you come across a particular media organization putting out a news saying, okay, they have found this miracle. Like you remember, there was this big thing about some man who had the scientific know-how about turning water into petrol. A lot of people got carried away. But then there was someone from an IIT who debunked the whole thing and said, "No, this cannot be scientifically possible in the way that this man is claiming it. Maybe someone else might be able to do it in the future. But the way this man is doing it, it is definitely there's something else happening, and this man is trying as a trickster, as it turned out to be." So don't check out other news sources. There are hundreds of other media organizations, and don't believe everything that you read on WhatsApp. Don't believe everything that you see going around on Facebook or any social media organization. Are they saying the same thing, or are they saying anything at all? Another big thing is that when in our parents' age and long ago, we used to say seeing is believing. But no longer. Seeing is not believing in the age of doctored videos and photographs. We have seen how clever trolls are, right? Whenever there is an interesting happening, you've seen trolls of people being put in the middle of photographs. We laugh it off. That's fine. We know it's a joke. That's fine. So you see people, certain people being squeezed between other people and saying, okay, see, I was there at the freedom moment. I was there. I did this. I did that. So it's very easy to splice videos. It is very easy to put pictures where none existed. So recently there was this very interesting picture. Like I was telling Darshana, there was a picture that was being widely circulated of Tipu Sultan. So it said, okay, you have seen Tipu Sultan. Have you seen the real Tipu Sultan? and it showed an African as Tipu Sultan. Think this is Tipu Sultan, and a photograph. This is the real photograph of Tipu Sultan. So immediately in viral saying, "Oh, see, this is not how Tipu Sultan really looked like." Now close your eyes, think for a minute. When was photography invented, and when did Tipu Sultan live? Can there be a photograph of Tipu Sultan? Really? So check those kind of claims. Another thing, another very interesting thing is to look at the spellings. We're reading something. I'll tell you an interesting thing. Whenever our stories are put out on our website and we go online, within half an hour or 1 hour, we find our stories have been lifted. That is our articles. And our name is removed. Someone else's name is put in and they just change the paragraphs or change, but with umpteen number of spelling mistakes and punctuation, grammar errors, other online sites take it and put it. Okay. So, and it's very difficult for legal people to even catch them. We keep sending them notices and so on, but it's extremely difficult to catch these people because there is no proper organization. They keep changing, and it's just multiple people. We don't know. Like, so about 10 of us complain every day. Like, oh, we saw a story being put under another byline. Byline is where we carry our name underneath. So that is one important thing. So one, you as a reader has to be very careful. Another is gross exaggeration. Where they say, if you do yogasana, you will never get COVID, or if you have this particular Ayurveda medicine, you are immune to COVID. All these kind, be very careful. You have to take care of yourself. That is the main thing. And never ever forward or spread information that looks exaggerated or false. Don't be a carrier of such information because remember, you are adding to the disinformation fuel. What does tech help to bust the fake news bubble? There is something on Google called Google Fact Check Tool. Okay, download and keep it. That will help you check whether a news is correct or wrong. Okay, then there are, I think India Today has a fact checking team. There is something called there is an alt news which checks facts for you. So there are many sites and news organizations themselves who will check a particular bit of news for you if you ask them to. Another is go to the Google search bar, enter the news that you've seen into it, and then type in fact check search team to verify the news. Immediately, they will verify the news and tell you whether this is fake or wrong. Similarly, there are apps to filter fake news. Okay, so these are some of the ways that one can be literate and be careful about what you see in media after media. All right. So that is it about the presentation. But now I'll be very, very happy to take questions from you and learn from you if you have any questions. Because remember, we are also in the media. Some things we take for granted because we think that because we're doing it day in and day out, we might know better than anyone. But remember that for us, especially as feature writers, we learn every day for us because we're writing about topics that we don't cover every day. So one day you might learn about students working in Mizoram, and other day you might learn about the diet of people living in the Kutch area and so on. So please be free and ask questions. I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and it helped you in some way or the other.
Yes, you can ask questions if you have any, need any clarification. Children.
Ma'am,
And the teachers can also ask questions. Yeah, sure. Somebody said something.
I'm Anakha from 12A.
Hi, Anaka.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, when we listen to news or we when get some information in Google or anyway, we share it to some of our friends, asking them if it's true or just telling them, I hope this is not true or something like that. And we have heard the news also that when we share not illegal, listen, fake news, it can lead to, it is not illegal. It can lead to like
Yes. You might be,
problem.
yeah.
like they say fake news, we won't, like we should not share fake news. So will that be considered like we are checking if it is fake or not, like with friends talking to them and discussing? So it is a kind of sharing itself when we are sharing it like with friends, but we didn't mean it to.
Anika, my advice is that don't share it. Call up and ask, or ask a question on WhatsApp asking, I heard this. Is this true? Don't share that bit of news, because remember, anything that, supposing you see a YouTube video, the minute you share it with five of your friends, now we can only, supposing you're sharing it on WhatsApp, now we can send only five at one time, right? So you
Yes,
share
ma'am.
it to five of your friends. Five of them send it to five of their friends to check whether it's true. So that is enough for many of these videos to go
Yes.
viral, right? So the best thing is to check, or just ask them, send a voice note and say, I came across something. Just see whether it is true, or ask your parents, or ask your teacher, or just go to Google and verify it. All of us are tech savvy now. So, like I said,
Yes.
go to the fact team and check out whether it is news. Never ever forward something that you feel is, you feel is wrong, or exaggerated, or could be false. Better to check and then forward it.
Forwarded.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Anaka. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Remember that social media people, like for YouTube and all, you get paid for if your video goes viral. So even if you were to forward it to five people, five, or forward it to five other people, it becomes 25. So even when they create something with, a terrible video which is very misogynistic, if people keep forwarding it, he gets paid. He, she, slash gets paid for that once it achieves a certain level. So never forward it, like it is best to go for a strike or complaint to YouTube the moment you come across some kind of objectionable content in it. I'm sure, I don't know whether read about it, but there was this video which had very objectionable content, which was very anti-woman, because usually women and children are the targets of many of these people on social media. So what happened is that, uh, the person who was under attack said that please don't watch this video, because the minute you keep watching it, he gets that number of views for which he's going to get paid. So then finally I think the police put up a complaint, and there was a strike against this particular video, tried to remove it from the online space. So it's best not to watch videos with such objectionable content. If you see something really objectionable, immediately complain. All these social media platforms have places where you can complain. All right. If you check, you can see raise a complaint.
Yes, ma'am. There is report feature in these
Yes,
videos.
that's the best thing to do.
Yes, anyone else? Don't have any doubts at all?
Have a questioning mind. Go ahead, ask. Don't believe everything that I have to tell you either. You have to question everything. How many of you read the news every day? Most of you?
Ma'am, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What
Not the
But
kind?
yes, ma'am, I
newspaper, but
do follow only one source, Times of India. So I'm going to change that since you told me. So,
No, that's all right. But I hope all of you read the news in whatever platform. It doesn't matter what, whether you read it on your phone or your
yes.
online edition, whatever. But you must follow the news, because somewhere it helps you when you go in for your careers in future. Also, it will help you because all this information stays. I remember when I was writing my journalism entrance exam, things which I read in my 10th and all stayed with me. Like, so somewhere it helps you write essays better, helps you crack questions better, because you can't prepare like that for an exam, right? You can't read up
Yes, ma'am.
10 years matter. So it's best to keep, kind of reading it. Somewhere it stays in your mind. Maybe you can't remember everything, but at least most of it stays in your mind. And I think the CBSE syllabus that way is one of the best, because it gives you such a wholesome, thing about history, geography, and all that. At least it did once
Yes.
upon a time, though we learned very little about Kerala in it, which I think is sad.
cleared every You covered every part of this
Yes, ma'am. Even if
subject that we don't really have doubts.
Oh my God.
yes,
Okay,
I'm sure.
so
Okay, you can supplement to it, then you can add to it something, a fake bit of news that you happen to see or something that you suspected was not correct. And you, okay,
Can you
yeah,
hear me,
let's come
madam?
back. Yes, yes, I can. Please go ahead. I can hear you.
Madam,
I can hear.
if at all we come across a kind of a fake news, is
Hmm.
there any kind of any place where we can lodge a complaint? Like we feel it's fake, and in suppose if it's a newspaper or in media
You
or in
can,
social.
of course, you can. For instance, the Hindu has a reader's editor. You can immediately write to the reader's editor and complain, saying that this was that you happen to see it in the news, and you are very that you want to complain. You feel that this is not correct and this is wrong information. You can complain to the reader's editor. Similarly, if you, that's what I was telling a few minutes ago. Most social media platforms have a forum to raise complaints against it. You can report a fake media or a news or a report, and most people don't bother using it because we are so apathetic when it comes to news. I was telling Darshana may have heard it. I was speaking to my alumni association. I was talking about it. Like many of us don't write letters to the editor. We become angry and we spew. We are angry. We vent our anger on everyone else, but not at the person who really deserves it. So I think if all our students, because remember we are all we can all write. We are so good at answering questions. So when you are angry about something, write to the editor, express how you feel about a bit of news that you saw or didn't see in the paper. Sometimes the paper may not carry the information that you wanted. Write to the editor. All of them are available on email, and so unless and until there is a reaction from the reader or the viewer, most people would not know how they view a certain bit of news or how they do not. So that's very, very important. We have to be active readers, not passive readers, or active purveyors of news, as we say it. When you watch a news, when you read something, you have to be there. We need active readership and active viewership. Only then can we correct. I always talk about television serials. Some of them are so trashy. Some of them are so terrible, so misogynistic. They propagate superstitions. They propagate views that don't fit in with the modern world. How many of us have complained about it? I'm surprised because many of us just sit back, watch, and we talk about it. Yeah, trashy. And but for a few, like from some of us sit in crib and say, I never watch any of these serials, so I really don't know. But some people do watch, and not many people seem to have any complaints about the right. Not even not the men, not the children, not the mother, not the father. No one. Had we all written letters in bundles to the television company, I'm sure they would have stopped it, in some way or the other, because
Ma'am,
yeah, the matter is so objectionable, especially,
similarly, another area I would like to tell you is regarding the advertisements,
yeah.
misleading advertisements. For
Mm,
example, in the television, in
mm,
the visual media, we come across a detergent advertisement.
mm.
Okay, there somebody challenges that this plate full of gravy with turmeric, etc. If it is happening to
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
then suddenly you put in the detergent, in 5 minutes it goes off. And we try to do it even to remove the smallest, the weakest scar, but the thing is it doesn't go off also.
Yeah.
So is there any possibility to lodge a complaint or
Sir, I'm
such
sure
kind
you
of?
know that Anup Menon was fined for participating in an advertisement about hair oil. And he was fined a certain amount of money. And he himself said that he never used the hair oil because he was going bald himself. And the film star Anup Menon.
Yeah, yeah.
So somebody went and filed a complaint against him and he was fined. So he stopped, and the court said you cannot, participate in an advertisement that claims has false claims. So our courts are there, laws are there, but we have to make use of them. That's a problem.
Madam,
No one has.
knowing all these things, then why these kinds of news are coming in the newspapers also, like in Madhubhumi? Simply, this is an example. Sorry, I'm sorry to quote Madhubhumi. Any Malayalam daily, you have Chatan Seva, something, some kind
Uh,
of
yeah, I know it's
watch,
very.
some kind of
I
bracelet, some kind of.
completely agree with you. The Hindu is one of the few papers that does not take any of this kind of, Chatan Sevas or anything. We refuse to take these advertisements. But you have to remember that all media organizations are also going through a very tough time. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Unfortunately, we are not government paid employees either. So we need ads to survive, and ads is one of our major sources of revenue. So you cannot say no to many ads. Earlier, the Hindu used to be very prim and proper. We never used to take any ads for innerwear. But then now you can't. You're scratching. You're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. And so now innerwear ads do come in the Hindu a lot of times. But even then, we don't take Chatan Seva and miracle cures and all that. Even now, it's the same thing with matrimonial ads. If you look at it, I think a newspaper should simply refuse to carry ads that specify caste and convent educated, because it's playing to very typical standardized methods of agreeing that this is how a woman should be, this is how a
Yes,
bride should
ma'am.
be, and
Like
so
the
on.
first thing
Yes,
they
ma'am,
say is
that's really.
the woman should be
Yeah,
fair, should be
fair.
domestic,
It's
Yeah.
and
like when we put
only this much of
conditions,
the, like, exactly. It's like we're
So
looking for a house or like
So
some
Rajeshri,
property.
maid
Ananta,
or
please
something.
write. Please write. Have you written angry letters to the editor? You must write. You should say, I'm appalled that a reader, that a newspaper like you are carrying ads like this in this
But
day
we
and
have
age.
only
Ma'am,
wrote
it's so
I'll also help.
letters to
I'll
normalized,
also
the.
help.
ma'am. Such things are so
And
normalized now. I don't even think
no,
that
no,
we
it is.
can do
We should
anything
not.
impactful to.
No, we can. See, but that is what I always keep telling. Darshana is an alumni of my college, okay? So that time also I was very angry about it. I said, look, there is strength in numbers. If 20 people from your school, men, girls, boys, anyone, write a letter to the editor saying that we object to these kind of ads, these kind of matrimonial advertisement, which is like harping on certain very physical attributes, very conventional, convent educated, domestic fare, blah blah blah, rich, so on and so forth.
Yes, ma'am.
So we object to it, and don't you think it's high time you pulled off these kind of matrimonial ads? It will work, because if remaining silent will not work. And you have to remember that the only people who seem to be barking all the time seem to be a few media persons all the time. The same old faces, keeps barking at various things and say, oh, this is wrong, this is bad, this is misogynistic, you shouldn't be doing this. We get bored of hearing ourselves after a point of time. So, yeah, there is strength in numbers. May more voices be heard louder about views that you feel strongly about. We have very young
Ma'am.
very young interns and journalists in our organization who are extremely vocal, and we love listening to them because they are very tech savvy, and we are learning so much from them. So there is no age or age deterrent in our profession, which is something which is very, very heartwarming for us. Yeah, I heard somebody say something. Sorry, I interrupted
Uh,
someone.
no, ma'am. That's my fault, ma'am. I shouldn't have like
No,
said
no,
it,
no,
but
please go ahead.
pretty much. Yes, ma'am. Pretty much. Even I used to. Even I'm actively like in on social media. I use Instagram, and I usually try to spread things that I feel or I strongly object against or I'm favoring, and for things that are really controversial. For example, recently there have been news regarding Ronaldo's allegations against him, and I had posted a story about that, and I the amount of hate and the amount of backlash that I received for posting that, it was kind of scary because there are a lot of Ronaldo fans in
Yeah.
my followers, and they viewed my story, and then they called me names, and then a lot happened that way.
Rajeshri,
And
block
yes,
them.
ma'am.
Block them.
Yes,
That's
ma'am,
my
I
advice to
did
you.
I
report and
was just going
block,
to
but that
scream that.
such
Block
things,
them.
ma'am, such things, yes, ma'am, such things are what prevent us from actually
No,
even doing anything about
no
it.
one is immune from that, Archie. Nobody is immune from all this. Immune to all this. Okay. So I have an Instagram and a social media account, and I'm fairly active there. So what happens is that I'm very careful about who I accept as friends, or on my feed and Instagram. So I get odd ones, with very European westernized names, and then I look at their post. It is usually private. I never accept anything that is private because I want to go and take a look at whom I'm accepting as a friend.
Yes,
Then there is another way is that you go and see how many posts they've put up. It might be zero posts. So this
yes,
man
and
is a
that's
voyeur.
definitely a
Yeah, definitely don't accept
yes,
him. So this might be a voyeur who just takes interest in seeing some women. The age doesn't matter to them, obviously, because my picture shows that I'm not a spring chicken. But still, they take some kind of a voyeuristic pleasure in becoming your friend and maybe looking at your pictures, whatever. So the best thing is to be very careful who you accept on your social media feed. And anything, when I put up a post, there are people who object to it. For instance, I found something very objectionable and I put it up on Facebook. So there is this old friend of mine, not friend exactly, a senior in college, who was my friend. And so she came up with I thought it was very communal remarks. So I just blocked her after a point. I said, I don't want to argue with you, and I blocked her. Because see, your timeline is yours to post things that you feel strongly about. So long it doesn't offend anyone or is not communal or biased or doesn't hurt people, it's fine. You can have a difference of opinion and we might agree to disagree on it. But any kind of cyber bullying you have to put your foot down immediately. Block the person and report. That's
yes,
the best thing to do. Yeah.
okay,
Doesn't
ma'am.
mean it doesn't don't let that scare you away from social media.
Yes, ma'am.
And because social media is a thing for us to give our opinions, and if we get backlash and all, obviously we have to ignore that, block them.
Yes, that's the attitude.
Yes, ma'am. That's
Side or staff side? I had two questions I asked.
Madam,
Yes, yes. Lewis.
Yes.
madam, you are representing one of the unbiased media fame. I feel it's my personal opinion. How you decide how much importance should be given to a particular news? I was asking this question because when I was studying in college, one thing that happened in England, the Queen Diana passed away. Then for number of days, 1 or 2 days, all leading Malayalam newspaper, they were celebrating that news. But when I found Hindu, there was only one small heading, Queen Diana passes away, and a small news, and inside page, a small news about that. Why we find such a difference in Malayalam newspaper and the Hindu newspaper?
Levi, that's also got to do with the market. The Hindu has a very clear editorial policy. I'm very happy to belong. That's why I enjoy being a part of this organization. One of the reasons is that, see, for instance, we have a policy regarding beauty pageants. We don't promote it. Now we do put pictures of them and we carry interviews. Earlier we never used to do it, but because of social media pressures and because of viewership pressures, we do put the news now. But no gush breathless kind of, here comes the bird beauty, blah blah blah. So we don't do that. That's a kind of an editorial decision that we will not promote beauty pageants. But over the years, we have been forced to kind of take cognizance of the fact that there is a huge readership for film related news. So maybe we don't cover film news as breathlessly as our other competitors, but we do now. We are forced to cover. We do give trailer releases. We were aghast when we were told to do that, because we never used to do that earlier. But we do cover trailer releases, and we do understand that one interview with a film star can bring in hundred thousands of viewers to our platforms. So that's one reason. But why Malayalam papers do it is there is a question of following the leader. So when the leader does something, and you have to remember that Diana is a person with a very strong following, whether it be in all over the world. So there is a kind of a voyeuristic element in following her life and about her death. Look at the series Crown that was trending on Netflix. I think on Netflix or Amazon Prime. I'm
yes,
not too
ma'am.
sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So all of us were following it. I used to enjoy watching Crown. There's a kind of voyeuristic tendency in all of us to. It's the same reason why people stand outside Amitabh Bachchan's house and keep yelling at him, saying "Bachchan ji, bahar aaye," and then he comes out and waves at them, and they go into raptures. So there is a kind of a voyeuristic thing about it. So that is why, some people chose to, and by the way we carry news, I won't say it is unbiased or correct. This is something which keeps on changing. So you can't say something. For instance, let me tell you something. EMS Namboodiripad was perhaps the first or second communist leader who was voted to power. Okay, so and you must remember, the Hindu is a left of center paper. So there are biases. No media organization is free of bias. There is a certain bias in the way we report certain news or something like that. But when EMS passed away, what we carried was a stamp size picture and a single column news saying EMS passes away, which when you look back was horrific. And similarly, when Mahatma Gandhi was, I think when he was shot dead, or I'm not too sure when we achieved independence. In those days, the front page of every newspaper was reserved for advertisement. Okay, so the front page is full of ads, and then you open the paper, inside was the news. So I think when Mahatma Gandhi passed away, or when we achieved independence, the news came in the inside pages. So these are all market concerns. Remember, a newspaper needs to be financially strong also, otherwise it won't last. Part of the way why, and of course, the editorial policy of the newspaper has a very important role. We were very angry for, I'll tell you another example, recent one. When we had a big argument with the editor and all that. Mammootty, our film star, had completed 50 years in films. Okay, so we said, we need to write about him and so on and so forth. So we said, why don't we carry it in Sunday as a, why don't we devote an entire page to him? Because they will be readers. We're very sure about it. So she's not from Kerala. She refused and she didn't cover it. We were very, very angry because we thought that was a very stupid decision. That was a wrong decision. And we still don't agree with that decision completely, because we think it is not taking into account the fact that, our Malayali readers or readers from Kerala. So we argued, saying that suppose it had been a North Indian or a Bollywood star, even a starlet, or even a minor star, it would have been a very different reception. Or even a star from, say, Tamil movies. Imagine if Rajinikanth had completed 70, 50 years or something, the reception would have been very different. So
That's bias right there.
yeah. So it is not as if there are differences in perception, differences in the way we look at a news. It's not deliberately done. It is just, finally, it is people who are taking these decisions.
Yes.
So that's
Madam,
one of the reasons why.
one more question I have.
Yes, sir.
As a person dealing in or being in the newspaper, do you believe in viewers or readers' right to know? Do you believe that they have a right to know? Why I'm asking you this is, suppose if at all a news item is coming today, very sensational news, it will be highlighted in the newspaper for the next 2-3 days. Then after 1 month, sometimes we will not know what would have happened to that. So we will be curious to know, but our question is whom to ask, because a particular news channel only or a particular newspaper only would have brought this sensational news out. But afterwards, it automatically, because for them, there will be another news, which is another sensation afterwards. But what about this particular news which had happened? For example, that gold smuggling case, a simple example, I'm just telling about a lady. And I'm very curious to know what happened to that lady. Where is she now? Has she got the bail or she's outside? But whom to ask? And is there any mechanism of updating this? At least you should have had a page to update 1 month back news like this, because there are some viewers who will be very anxious to know about it.
So this is a very good question, and something that some very good question, and we are all concerned about it. This is known as in our parlance we call it follow up. So there's a big news and you keep follow up. Yeah. So what happens is that follow up now, unfortunately, does not happen in almost any new media organization. So Swapna Suresh is in jail. We know that, but like you said, yes, we need to know more about the case. We need to know what is happening to it. That often does not happen because it gets pushed off. Something else happens, and it goes off the main pages, the first page, then it goes on to the second page, third page. There is a progression, and then maybe it will come as a single column somewhere. Yeah, it is sad, and the reader has every right to know. But like I said, the only way to rectify such things is to write to the editor. and tell him that you want to know about it. So we have something called Ground Zero on Saturday, where we try to kind of take stock of a major news and talk about it at length. It's called a long read, because readers and viewers' attention now is just about 7 minutes. That's what they say. So after 7 minutes or 6 to 7 minutes, people just fall off. And because we're constantly scrolling and reading, people can attention is only for 5 to 6 minutes. After that, they get bored. So the tendency is to have just 300 to 400 words. So our stories are all cut short to 300, 400 words. But Saturday is a long read where you take up one topic and write on it, like what is happening. That is one of the places where you cover a topic in depth, with sources being quoted and so on and so forth. So that's a long read. But unless readers demand that they want some kind of a story to be done, that will not happen soon. And I think it all depends on active readers, sir. I think there has to be a in participatory reading as well. Because most of the decisions are taken by us in a vacuum sometimes. So unless the reader demands it and says, look, this won't happen, we want to know more, then immediately, they come forward and start doing it. I think that's the way it works. I hope that kind of partially answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Close 1 hour. So shall we wind it up the program, madam? And
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much.
It's the formal vote of thanks. For that, I call Rajashri of class 12. Please, Rajashri.
Okay.
Honorable Chief Guest of the day, Srimati Saraswati Nagarajan, respected Principal Sir, teachers, and my dear friends, a very warm good evening. As someone who uses social media actively and usually doesn't question the news that is being said, this session with Saraswati ma'am really opened my eyes. There have been umpteen number of times where there have been uncertainties regarding what news is actually the truth. Ma'am debunked this issue in the most practical and apt way. The methods that ma'am provided us with to detect and distinguish between what is real and what is fake was incredibly useful, and I really feel honored to be a part of this articulate program. It was truly a delightful session, and it was really nice to interact with you like this, ma'am. And it was definitely something we all needed to hear. Now, I'd like to thank our honorable chief guest, Srimati Saraswati Nagarajan, our deputy editor of The Hindu, for this wonderful session that she addressed so beautifully. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank respected Principal Sir Shri Kumar Mohanji to make this program possible. I want to thank our librarian, Darshana ma'am, for being such a wonderful host. I would also love to thank all the teachers and students for their valuable presence and active participation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you, for being such patient listeners and for such warm words. Thank you very much, Rajashri. And thank you, Darshana and Sir, for conceptualizing this program.
Thank you for